Hey guys, I'm your host Tara A. Devlin, and welcome to this week's episode of Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. My latest book, Toshiden Theater, Bite-Sized Japanese Urban Legends Volume 1, is now out. If you ever wanted a collection of short, bite-sized stories you could zip through whenever you have a few minutes spare, then this is the book for you. Bringing you all sorts of Japanese urban legends you may or may not have heard before, these creepy, odd and bizarre little tales will keep you entertained and no doubt thinking about them for quite some time to come. Toshiden Theater is available on Amazon right now, so do check it out and help support the show at the same time. It's our 150th episode. Once again, whether you've listened to just one episode or all of them, I want to thank you for giving your time to this little show I've put so much work into over the years. It never fails to amaze me that people listen to it in the first place, let alone stick with it for so long. So, to celebrate another milestone, I have yet another big story for you. This week's story is another classic that hasn't yet featured on the show before, coming to us from all the way back in 2006. It's so big, however, that it's going to be a two-parter, so make sure to join us in the next episode as well for the thrilling conclusion to this massive classic. A group of young friends build a hideout in the mountains, but while out there one day, they notice a figure in the woods. Curious, they decide to follow and see who it is and what they're doing, and that small decision triggers a series of events that will change their lives forever. Will they all make it out safely on the other side? Please note that this story does feature the passing of two animals, so if you would rather avoid that, please give this story a pass. This one's called Dangerous Curiosity. This story's a little long, but if you're free, please check it out. In elementary school, my friends and I built a secret base in the mountainous area behind our school. When I say it was a secret base, we really went all out on it. Like, we nailed several boards together so it could withstand the rain and wind, and it was about 3 tatami mats wide. After school, we'd go there to eat snacks and read dirty magazines. It was like our very own house. Shin, Jun, myself, and 2 stray dogs, Happy and Touch, used it. During the summer vacation of 5th grade, we decided to spend the night at our secret base. We told our parents, "I'm going to stay at Nani Nani's house," and gathered up our pocket money to buy snacks, drinks, and fireworks. It was like going on a school trip. We gathered in front of the school at 5 p.m. and then made our way towards the mountain. Our secret base was about an hour climb up. The 2 stray dogs were roped off in the area around the base, so when we got nearby, they would start wagging their tails and run over to greet us. We'd greet them and pat their heads, then feed them an umaibo snack each. When we got to the hideout, we put our bags inside and, because it was still light out, went to the nearby lake to go fishing. All we ever caught there were bullfrogs though, which we then fed to the dogs. It started to get dark while we were fishing, so we got our fireworks out to play. The dogs ended up having more fun with them than us though. We bought a bunch of them, but before 30 minutes were even up, we'd run out, so we went back inside. It was the first time for us to spend the night there, and being that it was so deep in the mountains, there were no streetlights, just the moonlight shining down on us and the cries of insects all around. The hideout was dimly lit with the light of a single lighter, and at first, the 3 of us sat there eating snacks, talking about the girls we liked and bad-mouthing the teachers. But then a silence settled over us and we could hear sounds coming from outside again, like da-bong, something falling into the pond, and zaza, some type of animal's footsteps. We started getting more and more scared and asking each other more questions. "Did you hear that just now? What are we going to do if there's a bear out there?" We weren't joking anymore. We were actually scared. As 9 p.m. rolled around, the hideout was hot, humid, and full of mosquitoes. We couldn't sleep. But more than that, The unique atmosphere of the night mountain swallowed us whole, and we all started to regret going there. We discussed how we were going to ride the night out and decided that because it was too hot and we couldn't see anything around us, including approaching bears, that we would descend the mountain. Inside, all I could think about was getting home as quickly as possible. We started descending the mountain quickly, shining the torches at our feet. Happy and Touch followed us for about 5 minutes, giving us strength, but then they returned to the hideout. At night, the path we always followed took on an entirely different atmosphere. The path was only a 30-centimeter wide animal trail, and we walked along it silently so we didn't slip. But then Shin grabbed my shoulder from behind. "Someone's out there," he whispered. We turned off the torches and quickly hid. Listening closer, I could hear footsteps. Za, za. Something was proceeding through the brush on 2 feet. I looked in the direction of the sound, trying to find the owner. There was someone in the brush about 20 or 30 meters away. They had a torch in one hand and a large branch in the other, and as they pushed their way through the brush, they were climbing up the mountain. At first, we were scared, but we soon realized it was a person. Not only that, they were alone. The fear dissipated and we were filled with curiosity. "Who is that guy? Want to follow him?" I whispered. The others smiled as if to say, "Of course." Relying on the dim light of the stranger's torch and the sound of the brush being parted, we cautiously followed. After 20 minutes of climbing the mountain, the figure finally stopped. We were about 30 meters or so behind, so of course we couldn't tell what sex the person was or anything else about them. All we could see was the faint outline of a person. The stranger removed their backpack and started rummaging through it. "What the hell are they doing all the way out here alone? Are they trying to catch beetles or something?" I said. "Let's get a bit closer," Shin suggested. We hunched over and tiptoed forward, careful not to step on the dry leaves and branches, and slowly approached. We grinned as we got closer, thinking about what sort of prank we could pull on this stranger. Then, Kong! A high-pitched sound reverberated throughout the area. My heart froze. Kong! And again. For a moment I didn't know what was going on, and I turned to look at Jun and Shin. "It's that person! They're doing something!" Jun was pointing ahead of us. I turned to look. Kong! 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 Something was striking a tree. We couldn't see very well, but I soon knew what was happening. It was a cursed ritual. I mean, in the past, the mountain was famous for talk of straw effigies. We thought it was all just an urban legend, though. I got scared. "Let's go," I said. "It's a girl up there. Look," Shin whispered. "You want to see her, right?" Jun was swept up in the mood. "You want to see up close, yeah?" Both he and Shin gradually approached the woman. I just wanted to go home, but I didn't want them to think I was chicken, so I reluctantly followed. But we could hear nothing but the kon, kon, as we closed the distance between us. No, not only that. The woman was muttering some kind of sutra as well. We took a small detour and hid in the shadow of a tree about 8 meters away from the woman. Her hair was about shoulder length, and she was slim. Her backpack and torch were sitting by her feet as she nailed a photo of something into the tree. There were already 6 or 7 nailed to it. Woof! We turned around in a panic. Happy and Touch were there, wagging their tails at us like they were trying to ask us what we were doing. Then Shin screamed in a strange voice and took off running. When I turned around, the woman was standing there, a hammer in one hand and a terrifying expression on her face. She screamed and started running towards us. Jun and I jumped to our feet and ran after Shin, but the woman grabbed my left shoulder from behind and pulled, sending me tumbling to the ground. Something collided painfully with my chest, and I felt like I was about to throw up. I didn't know what was happening, but I soon realized the woman had stomped on my chest, and I was looking up at her from the ground. Her lips pulled back in a horrifying sneer as she ground her teeth, muttering something as she stomped her foot on my chest. It didn't hurt. I was so scared I couldn't feel pain. I soon realized the woman was trembling. Perhaps she had reached the peak of her excitement levels. I couldn't look away. I thought that the moment I did, she would hit me with her hammer. Even in such a situation, no, because of such a situation, I remembered the woman's face clearly. She was around 40, a little thin, her eyes wrinkled with a slightly protruding lower jaw, her teeth grinding as she trembled and looked down at me. It felt like we stayed like that for 10 or 20 minutes. I honestly don't know how long. Grinding her foot into my chest, she bent over and got closer to my face. At that moment, Touch came running and jumped onto her back. She panicked, letting go of me and staggering back. Then Happy came running and started playing with her too. Perhaps they weren't afraid of humans because they were used to playing with us. I jumped to my feet as quickly as possible. "Come on! Hurry up!" Shin and Jun were shining a torch at me from somewhere nearby. I ran towards the light. There was a dull sound behind us. I didn't have time to turn around. I just kept running. By the time we reached the bottom of the mountain, it was midnight. We couldn't hear any footsteps, but fearing that woman was still after us, we ran all the way back to Shin's house. For some reason, when we got there, we started laughing. Maybe because we were so stressed. But then, Jun started crying. "We can't go back to the hideout again, hey?" I said. "That woman's probably still looking for us." "Idiot!" Jun cried. "We have to go back in the morning when it gets light." Huh? I thought, and then Shin turned to me. "The only reason you were able to escape was because of Happy and Touch. Happy jumped when that woman was about to hit you, and she hit him instead. And Touch as well." Jun started bawling his eyes out. Shin later told me that the woman tried to hit me when I started running, but Happy jumped at her and she hit him in the head with her hammer. She tried to chase after me, but Touch snapped at her ankles and she hit him on the head as well. She looked in our direction only once, but rather than following, she kept hitting the dogs over and over. And we did nothing but run away. Shin also said that we should go back once it got light. Of course, I agreed, but something even more terrifying was waiting for us. We were so worked up that we couldn't sleep that night. In the morning, we napped until noon, and then we made our way back to the mountain. We took with us bats and an air gun so we could deal with that middle-aged woman. "She's probably still here," Shin said as we reached the foot of the mountain, so we took a different way up. It was the middle of the day, so the mountain was bright and we could hear the cries of cicadas. The events of the night before seemed like a bad dream. But as we approached the area where we ran into that woman, we got more and more nervous. We fell silent and our steps became heavier. Little by little, we approached the area where we so vividly remembered the events of the night before. My sweaty hands gripped the bat I was holding even tighter. We saw the tree the woman had nailed something to. When we got closer, we were speechless. The tree was covered in photos of a child, around 4 or 5 years old. But that wasn't what shocked us. It was Happy's strange form at the bottom of the tree. His tongue was hanging out and his body covered in blood. We were at a loss for words and could do nothing but stare as we approached him. He was surrounded by flies and other bugs I'd never seen before. It was the first time I came to understand the true meaning of death. Seeing Happy like that, I remembered the middle-aged woman and thought I might be next. I wanted to go home immediately. Touch! Touch's body isn't here, Jun cried out. He might still be alive. He must have gotten away, Shin agreed. He's got to be back at the hideout. I wanted Touch to still be alive, and the three of us ran for the hideout. We ran until we could see it, but then Shin suddenly stopped. Is that woman there? Jun and I thought, and quickly tried to hide. I looked up at Shin, and he was pointing at the hideout. What's that? He said. Jun and I slowly stood up and looked over. There was something strange about the hideout. There was something on the roof. As we got closer, we saw it was Jun's bag that he always carried around with sweets in it. We forgot it the night before, and now it was nailed to the roof of our hideout. We were shocked. That woman found our secret hideout. Shin approached the hideout nervously, his bat held up in the air. Jun and I followed behind him with the air gun. That woman might have been inside. Shin slowly put his hand out towards the door handle, then quickly opened it. Ah! Something inside surprised him, and he fell on his backside. He scooted back towards us on his butt. We didn't know what had scared him, but holding the gun up, we slowly approached the hideout and looked inside. Touch's dead body was there. Ah! Jun and I screamed at the same time. That woman is a freak, I thought. She's mad. Who would do such a thing? We'd gotten involved with someone beyond imagination. From the bottom of my heart, I regretted going to the mountain the night before. For a while, the three of us stared dumbfounded at Touch's body, but then Shin pointed at something inside the hideout. Hey, look at... We turned in silence to see what he was pointing at. Inside the hideout, there was something strange about the walls and floor. Words were carved into them. We went closer to get a better look. I curse you to die, Jun. 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 The words were carved all over the floor and walls. What? Jun was stunned. He froze on the spot. We were just as shocked. How did she know his name? Jun's bag, Shin said. His name is written on the bag. My eyes were drawn to Jun's bag, nailed to the hideout roof. Grade 5, Class 3, Nani Nani Jun, was written on it. Jun started crying, and Shin and I were on the verge of tears as well. That middle-aged woman knew his name, grade, and class. There was no escaping her now. She'd soon find out who we were as well. My mind went blank. She was going to kill us, just like Happy and Touch. We gotta tell the police. We can't run anymore, Shin said. I started to panic. If we tell the police, they'll find out about the hideout and how we lied last night, and our parents will get angry at us. I lost my cool. The one thing I was most scared of at the time was my parents. But Jun kept on crying. There was nothing we could say to make him feel better. He tore the bag off the roof in silence and put it in his pocket. With nothing left to say, we descended the mountain, Jun crying the whole way. I sobbed quietly, feeling like that woman was watching us from somewhere. "Let's not come back here anymore," Shin said when we reached the bottom. "If we avoid it for a while, that woman will probably forget about us." "Yeah," I agreed. "Let's keep it our secret. If she finds out we told anyone, she'll probably come and kill us." Shin nodded, but Jun just kept wiping his tears on his arm. That day, we all returned home, and for the rest of the summer holidays, we didn't see each other again. 2 weeks later, the new semester started, and when I got to school, I saw that Jun wasn't there. I found Shin, and we started to suspect that maybe that woman got to him. After school, we went to visit Jun's house. "Coming!" Jun's mother's happy voice rang out when we pressed the doorbell. "Is Jun okay?" I asked. "Hi, you came all this way just to see him. How sweet of you. He's in his room, so why don't you come in?" We went inside and made our way towards Jun's room. "Jun, we're coming in." When we went in, Jun was lying on the bed reading some comics. He looked unexpectedly fine, so we were somewhat relieved. "Why didn't you come to school today?" Shin asked. "We were worried about you. Did you catch a cold?" Jun said nothing. He closed the comic he was reading silently and hung his head. Then his mother brought some snacks and drinks for us. "The poor thing's had hives for the last 10 days now," she said. "Been eating too much cheap junk food, perhaps." She smiled and left the room. "What? Don't scare us like that." Shin and I smiled. "Were you scavenging for food or something?" We joked, but Jun just hung his head and didn't laugh. "Hey, Jun, what's wrong?" Shin asked. Jun silently removed his shirt. His entire body was covered in red dots. "If you put on some medicine, you'll be fine," I said. But then he turned around and showed us his back. "It's that woman's curse." His back was covered in countless red dots as well. "What curse? Forget about it," Shin said. "Look at my right side," Jun replied, his voice rising. His right side. Sure, it was particularly nasty there, but I didn't understand why he thought it was a curse. "Look closer. It's a face." We were shocked. There really was a woman's face there, about 5 centimeters in diameter, raised on his skin. "You're just thinking about it too much," we said. "Yeah, it kinda looks like a face, but..." "No matter how you look at it, it's a face. She cursed me. Not you, me." We couldn't find any words to say to him. I mean, he overwhelmed us. He was always so kind and gentle. And now, he was ill. His face was pale, and his eyes lifeless. He must have been mentally broken as well. Suddenly, it felt awkward being there, so Shin and I went home. "What do you think?" I asked Shin on the way back. "Do you think it's a curse?" "There's no such thing as curses," Shin said. For some reason, those words made me feel better. 3 days passed, and Jun still hadn't come back to school. It was difficult for us to call him, so we didn't know how he was doing. Our teacher just said that he had measles and will be missing class for a while. I felt a little better hearing that, but then a strange rumor started spreading around school. There's an old woman standing on the street in a trench coat and sandals, watching the kids as they go home. She stares at their faces, one by one. After school that day, I was shaken. After all, I was the only one whose face she saw up close. I went to talk to Shin. "You'll be fine. It was night, so she wouldn't have seen you. And even if she did, she would have forgotten your face by now," he said. He was oddly calm, and I thought perhaps he was just trying to make me feel better. But the worst part was that we lived in different directions and took the opposite ways home. I lived close to Jun, but since he was sick at home, I'd been walking home by myself. "Let's go back together. I'm scared," I pleaded with Shin. "Fine, but only until Jun gets better." He looked annoyed, but he agreed. From that day onward, Shin joined me on my way home from school. We didn't run into the rumoured trenchcoat woman that day, who was probably that middle-aged lady, but at school her legend continued. On the 5th day of Shin walking me home, we decided to drop by and see Jun again. We took with us some orange jelly from that day's school lunch as a gift. We got to his house and rang the doorbell. As usual, his mother cheerfully greeted us and led us inside. Jun, as usual, seemed down. His rash had mostly disappeared, but then he said, "The face on my side is getting bigger by the day." We looked at it, but to the two of us, it actually seemed to be better than the last time we saw him. It appeared to be affecting him mentally. We didn't tell him anything about the trenchcoat woman. Just as we were about to leave, Jun's mother followed us out. "Jun's not being bullied at school, is he?" We told her that he wasn't, but I felt guilty that we couldn't tell her the real reason. 3 days later, I had a rare opportunity to return home with Naito and Sasaki, as well as Shin. Naito was a big kid, but Sasaki was tiny. They were like a real-life version of Jian and Suneo from Doraemon. Shin and I had weathered the storm of that trenchcoat woman, and we started to believe that even if she did exist, she had to be a different person entirely. That day, the 4 of us got to talking about hanging out near the station, so we took a different way back. That was our first mistake. We were walking and chatting when Sasaki pointed to something. "Isn't that the trenchcoat woman?" "No way! It is! Oh, gross," Naito said. I looked at her, praying my hardest that she wasn't that middle-aged woman. She had a grocery bag in one hand and was just standing on the hot road in the lingering summer heat. Her head was hanging down, so I couldn't see her face. "Don't look at her eyes," Shin said, perhaps feeling on guard. We slowly closed the distance between us. I grew nervous. The woman didn't move, just stood there, her face down. When we got about 5 meters away, she suddenly looked up and started checking our faces. Then her eyes went down to our chests and suddenly I understood. She was checking our school name tags. I panicked. I had to save myself. I flashed back to that night and it was like my heart was going to jump out of my throat. I only saw her for a moment, but there was no mistaking it. It was that middle-aged woman. I put my head down and kept walking. My heart raced, waiting for her to pounce on me. How long passed? What was only seconds in reality felt like forever. "Did you see her eyes? She was crazy," Naito laughed. "What's wrong with her? Wearing stuff like that in this heat?" Sasaki made fun of her as well. Neither Shin nor I could smile. "Crap! Did she hear us? She's still looking at us," Sasaki continued. I turned around. I locked eyes with her. Her expression, like that of a wax model, suddenly changed to a terrifying, unsettling smile. So that's what they meant by the phrase, a shiver down your spine, huh? For the first time in my life, I was so scared I almost wet myself. Did she know who I was? Did she remember my face? If so, why wasn't she attacking me? The thoughts kept running around in my head. Ah, she's still looking at us, Naito said. Sasaki, she heard you. She's your problem now, he joked. But it was no time to be playing around. As soon as we rounded the corner and couldn't see the woman anymore, I grabbed Shin's arm. Let's go. Shin looked at me for a moment. Ah, you've got to go to cram school today, right? We got to get back. He got what I meant and we ran off. We ran in the opposite direction of my house and then a short while later stopped for breath. It was her. Those eyes, there's no mistaking it. She was looking for us. Shin was oddly calm. She was looking at our name tags pretty seriously. Thanks to Jun's bag, she knows our class and grade. I got angry that he was so calm. What are we gonna do? We can't run anymore. It won't be long until she finds out where we live. Maybe we really should tell the police. We can't just go on like this. We need help, he said. I was silent for a while. There really wasn't any other way we could get help. But what are we going to tell them? About the mountain, the nailed photos, and Happy and Touch's bodies. If we take photos of that and show the police, they'll see that woman's crazy and they'll arrest her. I agreed with him, but I didn't want to go back to that mountain. But what else could we do? We decided to go there after school the next day. But we didn't know where that woman might be hiding, so we took the long way home. It usually only took me 20 minutes, but on this particular day, it took more than 2 hours to get home. As soon as I got there, I called Shin. You don't think she found out where we live, do you? What am I going to do if she comes here tonight? I didn't realize that I was being such a chicken. I knew that it was all happening because she discovered our names and carved that stuff into the hideout walls. It's okay. She can't find us that quickly, Shin said. Then I realized something. Although we usually spoke as equals, I'd come to see Shin as an older brother instead. Of course, that night I couldn't sleep. I trembled at the slightest noise, and whenever I closed my eyes, I saw that woman's grinning face burned into the back of my eyelids. Morning came. I went to school, did my lessons, and then school finished. It was 3:30 p.m. Shin and I made our way to the mountain entrance out back. I hesitated to go in. The middle-aged woman, the state of Happy and Touch, the countless nails. The vivid memories of what happened that night swirled around in my head. I looked over at Shin. He was staring at the mountain in silence. He was probably scared as well. I wanted him to say the words out loud. He took an instant camera out of his pocket, but rather than admitting he was scared like I hoped, he gripped the camera in his right hand and said, "Let's do this." He then started running up the mountain. I ran after him like I was being pulled by some invisible rope. Shin kept running, never once turning back. I chased him as fast as I could. I was scared of being alone, so I ran with everything I had. Thinking back on it now, Shin must have been terrified as well. He was so scared he didn't look at his surroundings. He just ran. We slowly approached that place. I didn't want to remember what happened, but the memories of that night came flooding back, and the fear growing within my heart spread. Just as my legs were starting to cramp, we arrived. That's right, the place where that woman hammered in all the nails. The place where that woman killed Happy. The place where that woman dragged me down to the ground. The place where we met that woman. I looked around, suddenly feeling someone looking at me. No, not someone. It was that woman. My legs started to shake as the silence unique to mountains seemed to sync up with my fear. Shin took no notice of the fact I was frozen and approached the tree. He noticed something and squatted. Happy. My legs stopped trembling and I walked towards Shin. Happy was already becoming one with the earth. Wait! He took a photo of him. I was a little surprised at how calm he was, but without saying anything, I reached out. The moment I did, a great number of bugs I'd never seen before came flying out. Ah! I drew my hand back and stood up. I was so scared of the swarming bugs that I couldn't approach Happy again, and I was overcome with the urge to throw up. Shin said nothing, rubbing my back in silence. That night, I let Happy die. I was weak, the lowest of the low. Shin raised his camera again and went to take a picture of the tree. Hey, come and take a look at this. Had he found something? I nervously approached. This wasn't here last time, was it? He asked, pointing to something. I looked over and saw the countless photos nailed to the tree. They were there last time, but... No, they were different. Strictly speaking, the photos I saw were of a girl around 4 or 5 years old, but now there were more. Judging by the condition of them, they had been put there only 2 or 3 days earlier. The photos of the girl were nearly destroyed by all the rain and wind, falling apart. The new photos were also of the same girl. I didn't say anything to Shin at the time, but for just a moment, I was worried about what would happen if one of those photos was of me. Shin took a photo of the new ones nailed to the tree. Let's get a shot of the marks in the hideout, he said, and started running again. I was convinced the middle-aged woman was nearby and was scared to be alone, so I hurried after him. As we got closer to the hideout, I sensed something was out of place. Shin, I called out. Something was wrong. Usually we could see the hideout from where we were, but now we couldn't. Shin soon realized as well. That woman floated through my head. I was uneasy. My heart beat loudly in my chest. Let's approach it from the back, Shin said. I nodded. Rather than the usual animal trail that we always took, there was another way through the thicket that allowed you to approach the hideout from the rear. It was a path we made just in case the hideout was attacked by enemies sometime. We got down and crawled through the tunnel. Then, when we were about 5 meters away from the hideout, we suddenly realized what was wrong. It had been completely destroyed. The hideout we worked so hard to build was nothing more than timber. I couldn't believe what was in front of my eyes, but we couldn't sense the woman nearby, so we crawled out and walked over to the remains. Seeing it like that, I felt like I was going to cry. Our secret base was our home. The 3 of us, and Happy and Touch. A large rock was sitting by the piles of timber. Someone must have used it to knock it down. No, not someone. That woman. Shin silently took pictures of the wreckage. He turned over a few planks and took photos of the engravings. I curse you to die, Jun. Flies came flying out of a gap in the wood and we could see Touch's body under it. Happy and Touch. I painfully felt the loss of the two dogs. The hideout could be replaced. They could not. Shin stood up. All right, let's quickly develop these photos and take them to the police. We ran back down the mountain and hurried towards the police box near the station. If they saw the photos inside the camera, they would arrest that woman. They'd save us. That was what I thought as we ran. We stopped by a camera store and asked them to develop the photos. They said it would take 30 minutes, so we waited in the store. Shin and I barely spoke during that time. We just waited for the photos to be developed. Then, 30 minutes later. Sorry to keep you waiting, the part-time worker called out. Shin and I ran towards the register. The staff member looked at us with a strange look on her face. We developed the photos, so if you'd like to look over them first, she said and handed us an envelope. Of course, the photos were just of a dead dog and photos of a girl on a tree, so of course she'd look at us strangely. Shin opened the envelope and checked all the photos. They're fine, thank you, he said and paid. We left the shop and hurried to the police box. It would all be over soon. We rushed inside. Huh? What's wrong? A young police officer came to greet us. We ran over to him. Please, help us! Shin and I told him all about that night while showing him the photos. We also told him about the middle-aged woman who was stalking us now. After we finished telling him everything, the police officer looked at us with a gentle expression on his face. Have you told your parents? When we told him we hadn't, he said, Okay then, can you tell me your home phone number? What does this have to do with our parents? We're the ones being targeted, Shin said, getting angry. Shin's father was a doctor and his mother a nurse. His older brother went to a famous private high school as well. Out of the three of us, his family was the best off, but they were also the strictest. If they found out we lied and went to the hideout that night, not just for Shin, but for Jun and I as well, that would be the scariest thing of all. Help us! You're a police officer, aren't you? The police officer gave a small, bitter smile. You're elementary school students, right? At times like this, you need to tell your parents exactly what happened. It went on and on. Finally, the officer gave in and said, Fine, can you tell me your teacher's name? He started using more threatening language towards us, although he probably just wanted to hear the story from someone in charge of us. But to us, all we could think about was how we'd get in trouble if our parents or teacher found out. If we stay here any longer, he's going to force our home address out of us and tell our parents, I thought. He doesn't believe us, does he? We were desperately asking for his help and all he could talk about was our parents and teacher. We even brought photos that showed proof of that middle-aged woman. I showed the officer the photos again. Look at what she did to our dog, I said. The officer fell silent, took the photo from me, and then said something unexpected. Is this really a dog? Huh? Shin and I were shocked. What the hell was he saying? It's not like I don't believe you or anything. Okay, tell me a little more about it. Is this supposed to be the head? He wasn't joking. He really didn't know. I took the photo back from him. Like I said. But then I stopped. Objectively, it really didn't look like a dog. The bones had turned light brown in color and there was only a little fur left. Shin and I saw Happy's body the very next day, so we knew what he looked like before he started to decompose, like the angle and the shape he was lying in, but to someone who hadn't seen that, it probably just looked like a dirty rock with a dirty house cloth thrown over it. I calmly looked at the other photos, the engravings in the wood and the nails in the photos. I supposed it would be difficult to link the woman to these just through that. Perhaps the officer just thought we were playing a prank, and that was why he was constantly asking for our parents and teacher. I started to feel that if we stayed there any longer, we'd be in danger. He's definitely gonna call our parents, I whispered to Shin. He nodded silently and then lifted his chin to motion outside. The next moment, he got up and sped out of the police box as fast as he could. I followed not far behind him. We could hear the police officer calling out behind us, but we didn't turn around. We couldn't sense him chasing us. Perhaps he just thought we were playing games and ran away when we thought we were about to be discovered. When we confirmed he wasn't behind us, we sat down on the side of the road for an emergency meeting. What are we gonna do now? I don't know. We'd run out of options. Our last resort didn't believe us, and we'd lost our chance at protection from that middle-aged woman. It's over. The shock of just thinking it was huge. She's gonna find out where we live. I was scared. We need to take care so we don't run into her for a while, Shin said. That's impossible. She knows Jun's name and class, so it won't be long until she finds us too, I screamed. But what does she intend to do with us anyway? Huh? I mean, we saw her on the way home the other day, right? If she was going to do something to us, she would have done so then. And the mountain. If she was still after us, then she could have just carved something up there, right? Yeah, for sure. When we went up the mountain, we didn't see anything that looked like a curse towards us, although the hideout was wrecked. There were new photos of a girl nailed to the tree, but as for us, there was nothing like the curse she put on Jun when she found out his full name. I wanted to respond, "Is that so?" But I didn't. I wanted to believe that what Shin was saying was true, that the middle-aged woman really didn't have it out for us like we thought. If she really had it out for us, she would have done something, Shin said again, as though he knew it would calm me down. And when she was hanging around outside the school, she wasn't looking for us, but probably for the girl in the photos, right? Maybe. I felt a little better after hearing Shin say those words, although he was probably trying to convince himself just as much as me. That's probably similar to that thing they call escaping from reality. He probably said that because there was no other possible way to escape that woman anymore. But that's right. She'll forget about us soon. She's probably already forgotten about us right now. Man, what the hell? We were scared over nothing. Seriously, that woman made us cry, and for what? We both pretended like it was nothing when, really, we were just desperate. For a while we sat there, bad-mouthing the woman and joking around. When it started to get dark, we went home. As we approached the road where we split up, we waved to each other and said our goodbyes. "Let's go see Jun on the way home tomorrow." "Yeah, let's." My heart felt somewhat lighter. Yeah, like Shin said, that woman's probably already forgotten about us. I kept repeating the words, as though trying to convince myself of them. I almost skipped the whole way back, kicking rocks as I made my way home. The cloudless sky sparkled with thousands of stars, a refreshing sight. It seemed like all that worrying over that woman was for nothing. I realized there was an anime on that I wanted to see that day, so as I got closer to home, I started running. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. My footsteps echoed throughout the dark neighborhood. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. It was a quiet night. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Huh? Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. I heard footsteps that weren't my own. I turned around. It was dark, so I couldn't see very well, but no one was there. Was it just my imagination? I muttered to myself, feeling like a coward, and started running again. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. Huh? Someone was there. I stopped again and focused, looking behind me. There was nobody there. But I most definitely heard another person's footsteps mixed with the sound of my own. Was the mental pressure of it all getting to me like Jun? Was I just freaking out? I stood there for a while, looking behind me. My heart thumped loudly in my chest and, for a moment, felt like it was going to stop. Somebody was squatting in the shadow of a scooter parked in a driveway about 15 meters away. No, they were hiding. I couldn't see very clearly in the moonlight, but there was one thing I could see. The person was wearing a coat. I froze. The person probably thought I hadn't seen them yet, but I could clearly see their silhouette. For a moment, I didn't know what to do. It's that woman. It's that woman. It's that woman. It's that woman. I thought I was going to fall over, but the next moment my insides started screaming. Run, 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 run. You gotta run. It was like there was another person inside me, telling me what to do. I ran as fast as I could. I ran even faster than I did at sports day. I ran breathlessly, so fast that I could hear nothing but the sound of the wind flying past my ears. With a single focus, I ran towards home. It was just 10 meters away. All right, I'm gonna get away. A thought flashed through my mind. If I run into the house, she's going to know this is where I live. I ran straight past my house and aimlessly into a narrow lane nearby to try to confuse the woman behind me. I ran here and there for about 5 minutes, but then I had to stop to catch my breath. I turned around. I couldn't hear her footsteps anymore. I started walking back home, vigilant about my surroundings. When I was about 10 meters away, I looked around once more, then sprinted for the front door. Both my parents worked, so I quickly threw the door open with my key, ran inside, and then quickly locked the door behind me. Phew! I sighed in relief. But first things first, I had to warn Shin about what happened. As I went to take my shoes off and go inside, I suddenly heard something on the other side of the front door. I froze and stared at the sound. Our front door was a sliding door made of frosted glass with an aluminium frame, and through the glass I could see someone standing there, on the other side. That middle-aged woman was only 1 meter away. I held my breath, stopped moving, and tried to erase all sign that I was there. Although, in reality, I couldn't move. It was like I was paralyzed. A frog caught in a snake's glare. I could do nothing but stare at the figure of the woman on the other side of the frosted glass. For a while, she just stood there. She didn't even quiver. Did she know I was there? Then she slowly extended her left arm. It moved towards the door handle, and then it creaked before it started moving. A massive thank you and shout out to this week's Cummy Tier members, Christina, S-, and Giovanni. It's thanks to your support, along with everyone else, that I'm able to keep doing this show, so thank you very much. Make sure to join us next episode for the terrifying conclusion to this classic, and thank you for joining us for over 5 years of this show to date. And don't forget to check out Toshiden Theatre, Bite-Sized Japanese Urban Legends Volume 1, out on Amazon right now. And check out our newly revamped merchandise store at kowabana.store. And if you'd like to chat about this week's stories, come and join us in the Kowabana Discord. You can find that link in the description or on kowabana.net. You can also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/TaraADevlin for exclusive bonus stories and extras, or our YouTube channel at youtube.com/KowabanaJapan for all sorts of Japanese horror you won't find anywhere else. Thanks guys, stay safe, and I'll see you again next time for even more Kowabana, true Japanese scary stories from around the internet. Want even more scary stories? Head over to kowabana.net for new translations every week. You can also join our Patreon for exclusive stories you won't find anywhere else. Head over to kowabana.net now.